right, so my next hot take here, my bold prediction for 2020. It actually may not be that much of a hot take, but based on ADP and where people have him in their rankings, I think it is to some. It's that Aaron Jones finishes at top 3 again at the running back position in 2020 fantasy.
What?
So hear me out. Are
you kidding me?
So
Aaron Jones? Have you heard of Ezekiel Elliott, Saquon Barkley, and Christian McCaffrey?
Hey,
even Alvin Kamara. Who's he beating out of those guys?
You'll hear me out in a second, and you're gonna know because I know I'm right. No. The biggest thing is gonna be touchdowns, and I want to talk about some of the regression and things like that. But look, Jones finishes the RB2 last year. And I'm finding myself falling victim to being scared away by Aaron Jones, but just by the A.J. Dillon pick. But Aaron Jones is a great football player. He's on a team that wants to run the ball. Last season, the Packers defense stepped up to keep games closer, and the Packers finished 15th in terms of points scored in a 13-3 season. I don't see why that's going to change all too much going into 2020. The Green Bay O-line is great. They have everyone returning. They were the 5th best run-blocking offensive line per Football Outsiders. Now, the biggest thing with Jones is the touchdown regression. Everybody loves to talk about it, but yeah, I don't think most of us understand all the factors and variables that go into regression. So I want to use some analysis that some of you may have heard on the show already from our boy Mike Liu over at B2GE's Bunk Bed Breakdowns. Look, I'm not going to say that Jones is going to get 19 total touchdowns again, but I think 13 to 15 is definitely in his wheelhouse. And so here's what Mike put together for us. Two key components to this regression analysis. The first one is touchdown distribution. So it's looking at, right, where did a running back get the ball when they scored? Now, obviously, as you get closer to the goal line, your odds of scoring go up. And then the next one is red zone efficiency. So that's looking at conversion rates between 20 yards to the end zone, 10 yards, 5 yards. And when we look at Jones' touchdown distribution, that first one there, he got 63% of his touchdowns inside the 10 and 57% of his 19 total touchdowns inside the 5. So what does that actually mean? It means that Aaron Jones' touchdowns are relatively sticky. You aren't relying on Jones to take a handoff from the 50-yard line all the way to the house, though he can do that too. Now, and Jones got 12 rushing touchdowns from within the 10 last year. That's tied for most in the league between Christian McCaffrey and Todd Gurley. So we can expect Jones to continue to score double-digit touchdowns next year just because he has safe scoring volume. Now, the question is does A.J. Dillon take goal line carries away from Aaron Jones? Yep, certainly that is in the range of outcomes that he could do that, but there's no guarantee that happens either. And why would LaFleur take Jones off the field in early downs in the red zone? Maybe I'm missing something, but even if Dillon
gets free Aaron Jones, we've been saying it for years,
we really
and LaFleur
have, and
finally did it.
I know, and it was fantastic. Maybe I'm missing something, but if Dillon gets 2 or 3 touchdowns, that still doesn't scare me away from drafting Aaron Jones all too much, especially with Dillon being a rookie in a shortened offseason. And the next thing I want to talk about in terms of that regression is the red zone efficiency. So we know the best comp for a player is not other players. It's actually themselves historically. And if we look at the 2017 and 2018 seasons, Aaron Jones was actually converting at 62.5% inside the 10. In 2019, he was 4.5% lower at 58%. So it's not like Jones had some crazy outlier year. He was actually below his career averages in terms of red zone efficiency. And then we look at inside the 5, that 58% conversion rate he had there is higher than the 56% average among the top 15 fantasy running backs. When Jones is inside the 5, he's unstoppable. And so to me, there's no guarantee that he won't be putting up double-digit touchdowns again next year. Matt LaFleur is giving all the scores over to Jones since McCarthy left Green Bay. Jones scored a touchdown last year every 15 carries. That's far and away the best touchdown rate of the top 15 running backs in the NFL, and he only played on 61% of snaps in 2019. So you can make a case to me for why the touchdowns can continue. And then on top of that, Jones quietly gets a lot of passing work. He had 68 targets and 49 receptions last year. I don't think that just totally disappears for Jones either. I don't think they remove him from the passing game completely, even though we got Jamal Williams there too. I still think he's going to get some receiving work. So I think Jones is probably one of those names where you see him on the draft board and your first inclination is to look at Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders, and Austin Eckler. But it's totally possible that Jones finishes over all of those names and finishes as top 3 again here in 2020.
Steph, I got to give it to you because I know this is a bold predictions, like hot takes episode. And you could have said Aaron Jones finishes as a top 5 running back, and I would have given you the same "you're crazy" reaction. And I actually still think it's crazy. So, that's absurd. Like, he's not going to be in the top 3. But I will say, this is why we do this episode. No, I'm not telling you to draft Aaron Jones as the 3rd running back off the board. But, like, your case you makes me look at my rankings, and I see Aaron Jones sitting there at 11, right in between Miles Sanders and Josh Jacobs. And I'm like, I think maybe I should bump him up a little bit because you're right. The touchdowns, historically, he's been very efficient in those areas. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to target Devontae Adams about 10 billion times this year. So, Devontae Adams still is going to get some of those red zone looks from Aaron Rodgers. They bring in Funchess as a red zone target, but maybe that kind of counteracts what they had in Jimmy Graham before. But no, I don't see 19 total touchdowns in the realm of possibility. But right now, I have Aaron Jones statted for way too low of touchdowns in my rankings. I think I'm buying into that A.J. Dillon hype a little bit. Right now, I have Aaron Jones at 11 total touchdowns, and I think I might need to bump that up to, even 12 or 13. Just giving him a couple could be valid. It's important to remember that Aaron Jones was incredibly efficient in those situations last season. A.J. Dillon was, what, a 4th-round pick? Or no, he was a second-round pick, wasn't it? Back of the second round. Well, yeah, so, they draft him at the back of the second round, but Jamal Williams' contract is up after the season. I believe maybe Aaron Jones is as well. Don't quote me on that.
No, you're right.
But you're absolutely right. Like, maybe A.J. Dillon gets a little bit more workload towards the end of the year, but there's no reason to believe the best running back for the Packers isn't going to be on the field early and often. That receiving floor that he has also is very appealing, and, I think I need to bump him up a little bit. So great case there. I am so on the other side of the room of you that he has the chance to repeat as a top 3 running back this season. But look, you had some good points. I'll give you that.
Look, it's a bold predictions episode, so I'm bringing them out. Right now, this actually blew my mind. I just had to check the ADP. Right now, Aaron Jones is going off the board at the RB13 based on Fantasy Pros expert consensus rankings.
Wow.
That is crazy to me. ESPN has him at 7, which I think is more realistic for where we should have him. But, I think the A.J. Dillon hype is just the pendulum has swung too far the other way. So, look, don't sleep on Jones in 2019. Sorry, I jumped back a year. Don't sleep on Jones in 2020.